What will the new hospitality industry look like? What are some changes that hospitality organizations can make, and how are they faring? That's the topic of our discussion at the moment for Forte Connect. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Steve Brown from Forte Group. Today, we wanted to bring in a guest who had expertise in hospitality to kind of talk about how technology is changing that industry. So that guest is Amit Kolambekar. Amit is the co-founder and CTO at TrackMyShuttle. TrackMyShuttle is a platform that connects airports and hotels, or rather the individuals arriving at an airport or leaving their hotel to go to the airport so that they can schedule their shuttle, arrive on time, and get to their destination hassle-free using technology. We thought it was particularly relevant because contactless payment is a feature of the TrackMyShuttle platform. So Amit's going to talk a little bit about the hospitality industry now, some of the organizations that he works with, and where he sees it going. So it's, I think, a really interesting conversation. I hope you enjoy it. We have our regular guests. We're going to skip the intro today and jump straight into the conversation. But joining me with Amit is CJ Montano, who is partner and managing director at Forte Group, and Kirsten Lang, who is a senior account executive who focuses on strategic partnerships at Forte Group. So without further ado, before we begin, we jump into the conversation where Amit is talking about how the idea of TrackMyShuttle came to be. He was working on a cloud and IoT solution company that kind of helps small businesses navigate those technology spaces. And that brought about the genesis of the idea for TrackMyShuttle. So without further ado, we'll jump straight into that conversation. Hope you enjoy it.
And at that time, a friend of mine, he got attention of what I was doing. He's like, hey, do you want to do something together? I said, yes, go find a problem. I'll be on it. So he hustled. He went around, looked for different problems, found TrackMyShuttle. That was our third charm. And when we looked at it, we were like, yeah, this sounds like a great idea. Providing a technology to private mass transit operators sounds like a fun thing to do, sounds like a scalable thing to do, sounds like something that's required in the marketplace. And that's how TrackMyShuttle was born, sometime late 2018, early 2019.
So you do work with a lot of hospitality organizations. Can you tell us a little bit about how they're doing right now and sort of how your technology relates to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So anything travel related is right now hurting, unfortunately. It's the hotels and the resorts who are our customers. They are our dominant customers. And a lot of them are currently undergoing lockdowns. If you look at all the statistics which are out there, the occupancy rates have fallen 40, 50%. In some locations, it's fallen 70, 80%. The rates that the profitability per room is taken a hit. So really, the industry is definitely hurting at this point in time, for sure. And they are really being kept afloat at this point in time with whatever cash reserves, line of credit, federal help that's going on. And everybody is literally waiting for things to go back to normal. And really the only silver bullet up here is a vaccine. So it's definitely an industry which is hurting at this point in time. But I think it's just part of the transitioning to a better tomorrow. I think they'll come out of it stronger because inherently as human beings, we are wired to have experiences, especially the younger generation. So it's one of those things where the crisis is definitely there, but I think long term, this industry is going to have a resurgence going ahead.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you were kind of ahead of the curve with things like contactless payments. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you see that growing?
Yeah, so I'll talk about this with specifically to TrackMyShuttle, if you will. Mm-hmm. So the problem that we solve is essentially the problem that everyone faces. You are at the airport and you're waiting for a shuttle and you really don't know where the shuttle is. So TrackMyShuttle essentially provides an ability for the passengers to exactly know where the shuttle is. And in cases of shuttles which operate on demand, they can just book a ride, just like how you do with Uber. So it's really bringing the Uber-like experience for the passengers from something which is as as mundane as a shuttle, if you will, which is really not adopted those technologies. And at the same time, on the other side, what we are also doing is making sure that the front desk and the drivers and the managers and even their customers, they are all in the loop in terms of using the technology from the other side of things to be able to manage the entire transportation in a way that's very efficient and very predictable for the end customer. So that's kind of the product that we provide. And to your question with respect to how we are adapting going up in the future, that's really a great question. And the hotel is going to have a huge wave of digitalization. Their technologies, front desk, check-in technologies, all of those things are going to change and transition as and it's going to go even more depending on how much time it takes for the vaccine to develop out. But I think what we are also doing is we are providing technologies by which people can, the drivers or the management can limit the occupancy rates within the shuttles. If you go to resorts, a lot of the resorts, the drivers make a lot of money with tips, and these are cash tips, something that nobody wants to do right now. So we are incorporating digital tipping technologies as part of the solution so that people can still get the tips, people can still feel appreciated, can have that additional income in a way that's safer, sustainable, and more so of how the customers want to actually do that in the first place. So definitely adding features to the product to enable the new normal of COVID with respect to tips, with respect to maintenance of shuttles, with respect to inspections, cleaning abilities, with respect to limiting amount of people on board, and so on and so forth. Just a lot of features to really cater to what's coming up ahead.
Yeah, no, this actually sounds fascinating. I'm a huge traveler myself, and I actually worked in hospitality for a little while. So I'm really interested to see how all of this is going to, kind of manifest itself. And it sounds like a really cool track that you're taking. CJ, do you have any additional thoughts on how businesses within the hospitality industry can adjust?
Maybe, but I got to get this thing out of my head first, because at the beginning, Amit said his partner's job was to go find big, complex problems for you to solve. I wanted to let you know on camera, if you ever have an opening for that position, I'm your man. I want to go find you some problems. That sounds fascinating. I had sort of a answer all lined up, but as Amit was talking, something just overcame me and I just can't get it out of my head. Being hospitable is in the name hospitality. And to me, there's just too strong of a connection there with experience that to ignore, and with the pandemic, I see that it's sort of pushing us in two different directions. From one perspective, and I'm sure I speak for all of you when I say this, you're sitting at home, your experience in terms of the world and what you can experience and the people you can experience it with has completely shifted, a different direction. You don't get to go out with, the same people. You're not working in a social construct with your work anymore. When you do, it's, 6 feet distance, things like this. So you're sort of losing some of that humanity because of this, pandemic that's occurring. And yet at the same time, I think that the demand for it is higher than it's ever been. And where I'll kind of take this is, I think what you're seeing in hospitality and in a lot of businesses is the emergence of the experience first when you're doing the design of software, because you get into this position of, most people think, in terms of software and software at scale, they often think of how could we make things cheaper? How could we do things that you don't need, to be done by a human being? And I think things like contactless payment fall very well into that category. I don't need the experience of somebody handing me $1 if I do something well on tip. I just want the $1. But I want the nice words, and I want the person to shake my hand, and I would like, the person to connect with me. And that's something that software, I think, is going to be challenged by. And so when it comes to hospitality, I see it, because hospitals in the name of the industry, I think it becomes interesting to lead the rest of the software sort of that's being built in the world to say, how can we make this feel more human? How could we, regenerate the experience of human to human contact? We sit here on this Zoom meeting, and it takes one step, right? I could see you, and there's the unspoken words, and you could see people's, verbal, nonverbal language and stuff like that. But I think as this pandemic goes on and the demand for human to human interaction grows, yet the constraint of being able to actually do it, I think this whole industry and software in itself is going to be challenged incredibly to say, how do we take, just the mundane stuff and just put it out there, right? Just like, okay, there's certain operational things that we don't need to be human to human contact with. But there is definitely the experience that a lot of these industries, especially resorts, hotels, even just point-to-point taxi and travel, people enjoy that. People want to go on long trips, and people want to get in limos, and that's part of the experience. How is software going to help solve that problem where we retain that safety and that ability to actually, socially distant, but still somehow have that human connection? So I don't know, Amit, if that's sort of where your head is ever at this time, but it was too strong of a connection for me to think software's so good at operating efficiency and reducing cost and doing things, that humans don't need to do that are mundane. But experience has always been challenged. And I think with, the emergence of visual, components to software with VR and stuff like that, maybe some of that's possible. But I would like, and I don't know if I'm allowed to kick back a question here, but I would like to have Amit's sort of thoughts on that, because I find that really, really hard. So I've been in software a long time, and the experience piece of it, some people are great at it, but really, when you look at levels of maturity of a great website is still not a human experience. A great software product is still not a human experience. And so I'm curious, leading with hospitality, how maybe some of that is going to play into your vision as a CTO of a business like that. So if you don't mind, I'm going to kick that back to Amit immediately.
Sure. I mean, that's a really deep thought in terms of how we are going to evolve as a species in this age of hyper digitalization, right? COVID or non-COVID, it's digitization is part of our lives, and how do we feel that connectivity and the warmth actually that the humans feel? It's really a deep question. And what I feel about it is, like, if I look at the Gen Zs, if I look at the millennials, they are operating fundamentally differently. On one side, they are taking up digitization platforms and uptaking them at a level which is absolutely astronomical. And on the other side, they are really they don't care about ownerships. They don't care about belongings. They don't care about possessions. They care about experiences, and they care about connections. And they are going out there in the world, doing solo travel, doing group travel, going into places which are not visited before. Part of that is maybe the Instagram or the Snapchat craze or what have you. But I think it's almost like the two sides of the same coin. On one side, there's a huge influx of digitization in their lives, and on the other side, there's a huge influx of experiences. So maybe to some level, maybe that is coming from a way to balance out the lack of experiences when it comes because of the digitization aspect of it. And maybe that's the way of just our minds balancing out both the viewpoints, and that can be seen in the Gen Zs and the millennials of today. That's how I see. So I don't think it's going away. It's just taking a different form, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I like, as you were talking, I was like, right, because my generation, and I think before my generation, software was always a means to an end. It was transactional, contractually based, like I got to get something done. But now, you talk about the next generations, the experience is the product. So it's like, how is technology going to, so, I mean, we're not going to solve it here today, but I do think that that's interesting. And, with where you're headed with your organization and just being in the hospitality industry, I think that there's going to be a lot of hotels have excelled at that. They just have not excelled at it in a digital world. They've, airlines, limousines, places that do hospitality, restaurants, right? I mean, my job in high school when I worked for a pizza joint was hospitality. Literally, I had a sign on my thing that said hospitality. It was my job, but literally was human. I mean, I would sit down with people. I'd eat peanuts with them. I'd get them drinks. If their pizzas were late, I would talk about, see how they're doing. Just bring that. It was just basically my job to bring warmth to them and make them comfortable in their surroundings. And so software's ability to do that right now is strained, and I'm excited to see who emerges out of that, and whether that truly is like augmented reality or virtual reality that is the answer, or whether there's something else through traditional methods that can recreate some of these experiences. So it's interesting.
Yeah, the one thing that I would add in terms of specific to TrackMyShuttle, right? When we think about TrackMyShuttle, we're talking about private mass transit.
Right.
And in terms of having an experience, you have to be with somebody. You have to be within a kind of an environment which provides you an ability to get a particular experience. And what I feel is, even though we are currently providing technologies which are more along the lines of tracking and booking and tipping and so on and so forth, if not for COVID, if you look at the future of what this industry might be, it might be that rather than using this mass transit as a place of just getting from point A to point B, maybe experiences or things within the shuttle can actually be infused as a part of it. And I think there is opportunities there, right? I think that's probably what's going to happen to the malls as well. When you go today to malls, maybe the demise of malls is because it's a very transactional kind of an environment. You just go, you buy 2-3 things, and then you get out. And the malls which probably are doing very well is where you have experiences built in, where the shopping and the experiences reside together in a collaborative kind of a way. And maybe we are moving into that direction where it's no longer, as you said, CJ, a transactional approach of just getting from point A to point B or buying in a retail shop. You have to build experiences to pull people in and have them gravitate towards it. Because everybody at the end of the day as humans is looking for those experiences, without which to some level our lives are hollow.
Yeah, for sure.
So we had a lot of other topics planned, but unfortunately we're running a little low on time, but that's been really insightful. I think this has been a great conversation. Before we kind of wrap up, Amit, I wanted to give you a chance to kind of plug TrackMyShuttle if people want to know more about TrackMyShuttle, or maybe they want to apply to an open position. What should people do?
Yeah, absolutely. So TrackMyShuttle, we are a startup at this point in time. We are a very small team, and it's kind of worked well in terms of COVID, right? Because we are not overextended. And because of the fact that we are not overextended, it gives us the opportunity to kind of just hibernate, if you will, kind of just huddle together and save on resources in order to not necessarily even pivot. I don't think so. We as a company are pivoting at this point in time. What we are saying is that we ideally wanted to make mass private transit affordable and accessible. That's our mission. And we started off with the hospitality industry, but that is not the beginning or the end. It's just a gateway into trying to make that mission successful. So what we are doing at this point in time is we are saying, all right, hospitality is an industry that we understand. We made good progress in that industry. It is an industry that's affected by COVID. So we are actually stepping on the throttle in terms of product development to now take the same product that we have and apply it to industries that we wanted to apply to maybe 1 year, 1.5 year down the line. We are kind of accelerating that to make it happen sooner, given the current form. So we're not pivoting in a very weird way. We are actually accelerating, trying to do what we wanted to do in a little bit of a long term and trying to compress those timelines so that we can achieve the growth that we have chalked out for us. So that's what we are. And in terms of positions, I think once we get going with COVID, one of the places where once we know that we have a strong product, we can apply it to multiple different verticals. And that's when we are really looking forward to build a good sales team to be able to then go and sell the product. That is one of the places where we will expand as a company. And we are on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. So especially people who are in sales who feel great about this, when we get out of the curve of COVID and then the sunshine is there, the opportunities are there. That's definitely one of the areas where we'll be throttling up on to get ourselves out there in the world where this technology can be applied.
I'm looking forward to seeing what the future holds for both you and TrackMyShuttle.
Thank you,
So
Steve.
if you don't mind, we'll put that info in the description of this video and anything else that you'd like to provide later. So Amit, this has been great. Thanks for joining us today on Forte Connect. We'll have to have you back, I think, because there's a lot more that we can mine out of your insights and intelligence.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Steve. It was wonderful talking to you the first time. Even better, talking with you the second time. Kirsten, CJ, wonderful meeting you both. You guys are all local in Chicago. So I think once the curtain of COVID has been raised, we'll stay in touch even closer.
We'll have a human experience, hopefully.
Unless we're replaced by robots.
Yeah.
It'll have to be in a hotel bar.
That's right.
Yeah. I just want to add, CJ, that the pizza hospitality story does explain a lot about your personality.
Oh God.
That you were once paid to keep people company and eat slices with them. I like that.
The worst part of that is I had like 6 other jobs in that pizza joint, and that's the only one that stuck. They're like, you're just gonna go talk to people. So very
all
good,
right, Kirsten, CJ, thanks for joining us. Sorry we're a little low on time, but today's topic has been what will hospitality look like in the future, in the next few months. Amit, you've been a great guest, and CJ and Kirsten, thanks for your insights as well. If you want to check out any of the other videos we've done on Forte Connect, you can check them out in the description below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.